everybody. This is Don with the Vlog of Many Things, and I think today's going to be a little bit of a lively show. With me tonight is the crew. I have on my left,
folks, Tenkar,
Tom from Tabletop Taproom,
and Steve, of course.
You know what? This is just not like the Brady Bunch. Hi, Mr. Gunn. How are you? You know what? We're supposed to be like the Brady Bunch. Who's Marsha? I'm definitely not Dad.
Marsha.
Chad, how you doing? Fugly?
Yeah, who's the one that's...
Oh, well, into the show. No, we're going to cover a whole bunch of stuff. I learned new things about Siri tonight.
Oh.
What's that, Eric?
Nothing. No, I'm just laughing. And by the way, Don, I'm gonna have to blame you for something. Sounded dead pixel on where your screen is.
Right there.
Yes, on you. It's a dead pixel. I'm like, son of a. Don jinxed me. Don
it's a bad pixel.
Yeah, Scott, how you doing? Mr. Gunn says the gun vault is open, ready to go, rootin' tootin'. Yes, we're gonna be talking about one subject that might upset somebody from Wisconsin if they're watching. We're going to talk about the Jim Ward. We're going to talk about the Jim Ward letter, the one that Jim posted every year, and we're going to talk about the factuality of it. It doesn't really make sense. We're going to talk a little bit about. I'm off my kilter because we spent too long before the video. Weird shit was. What else are we talking about? We're talking about that. We're talking about
we got other letters.
Other letters.
Yeah, I got a letter.
And by the way, just to let everybody know, did I show you guys the anonymous mail I got on the 20th about Bad Mike in North Texas about warning me?
What?
Oh yeah.
We're gonna go through that too.
Man.
Why? Because I'm just an asshole and I just want to talk about it. Steve, how you doing tonight, my friend?
But you're my asshole. That makes it okay.
That's right, Diet. It's upsetting people. That's what we do on this show.
Yes.
All right.
And we do it with
pride. We don't touch it with feathers. We touch it with rocket launchers.
That's right.
There you go.
All right. How about we go into? How about let's go to a little bit of anonymous mail fun first. We'll save the Jim Ward stuff. Oh, we're also going to give a little bit of a gangbuster update.
You got everything, folks.
Mark, how you doing? Matter of fact, I said we're going to do a gangbuster update, and here's Mark Hunt in the chat. So, we'll do. Let's go through a couple of these emails. Have a little bit of email fun, and then we'll give the gangbusters update because I think we got some people from gangbusters in here watching. That way they can get on with their evening if they don't want to watch the rest of our awesome show. And then we'll give the Jim Ward letter. Sound good?
Sure.
Sounds good.
Okay. Now, Tom, you got this letter, as I recall.
It was in my spam folder, and I completely missed it for 18 days. And I was noticing some patterns in it here. I've highlighted 4 times. I'm instructed about sticking my nose. Can I mention Voldemort by name?
I think it's safe now. I think we're fine.
Yeah.
We're just mentioning it being. By the way, disclaimer: nobody is making any accusations to any certain individual. Nobody is saying that this email is from Justin, and we're just going to use Justin's
anonymous.
First name. It's only the first name, and it could be any Justin.
Yeah, it could
Justin Bieber.
Justin Kidd I went to high school with.
I never liked him in the first place.
Justin Timberlake could be sending these emails.
No, I think it might have been the Justin I went to high school with. He was a jerk anyways. So 4 times instructed about sticking my nose in Justin's business where it doesn't belong. Do yourself a favor, stay out of Justin's business. For once in your miserable welfare recipient life, keep your nose out of his private affairs. And then finally, stay out of Justin's personal business. You better heed my words. So right here, he really telling us what he's worried about. Tammy and I had a good laugh with this, because of how pathetic. There's the projection. There's a lot of projection in it. It's pretty pathetic with his projection. The guy's desperate. Whoever this is, the English is bad. The grammar's bad. It's pretty indicative of somebody who didn't graduate from high school or only got their GED. Is what I would surmise based on, because it's anonymous. I don't know who it is. Can't say anything. But it's pretty desperate. And I was rereading it, and he actually reiterated that Justin's wife, he used the whore word, and drug addict in reference to Justin's wife. So that's I mean,
don't know whose wife that could be. You never know.
Justin's should get pretty, he should go find out who this is and go punch that guy out.
Yeah, because I'm really shocked that he's alleging that Justin Timberlake's wife is.
I don't know. Is she hooked up with Diddy? I mean, it could be. Well, that whole thing makes me feel unclean.
Well, I did say we don't touch them with anything but rocket launchers, so yeah.
That's right.
So to the biblical sense, Diddy's got his own.
Well, because the funny thing is, the anonymous mails have been busy in the last 10 days.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah.
Because I actually did a little date checking on this. And I received my anonymous mail on a Tuesday, which is kind of like midweek. And my anonymous mail mentioned Eric. It mentioned Glenn, Bad Mike. And I got
Glenn ever do to anybody? What the hell?
Yeah, leave Glenn out of it.
Now this one said, hey, you know what? I'm just reading the mail. It says, Dear Don, anonymous mail. Imagine that. I am someone with due to my relationship with Mike from North Texas RPG Con, has to be careful. I saw you and Eric Tenkar's video the other night and mentioned going to that convention. I'm being set up for a trap. Eric, bad Eric, getting me set up for a trap. Evidently, I can't read this damn thing straight. Bad Mike, Eric, and Glenn are plotting revenge on me. They want to get me and my wife there publicly on live video, call me out for being a scammer. They're going to humiliate and destroy it. Yeah, this looks like someone's English. And it goes into this whole nonsensical thing about my wife was in prison, evidently. Not that my wife is a school teacher or anything like that, but I guess she was let on a work release. Yes, Thomas.
I have a question. I got to ask the obvious question. Why is Eric stupidly waiting for you to fly all the way to North Texas when he could just out you on video right now? Inquiring minds want to know.
It's because it's a conspiracy, Tom. That's how conspiracies work. Don't you know that?
He could do it any Thursday night. Why is he waiting till North Texas? And
dark evil forces at work.
If your wife works in a school district in Michigan, I believe she's fingerprinted and has background checks.
Oh, yeah, they do. Oh, yeah.
How could she be in prison?
The quick interesting thing about my wife's school, even though they have husbands and spouses, okay, husbands and spouses are not even allowed beyond the front desk without a full background check. That's how picky they are now. So that's a good thing. But at any rate, I digress. So it's been a busy few days for anonymous emails, and Eric got a few. Steve, the person doesn't know your email yet. Why don't you just post it publicly so you can get them too?
Well, hey, all they got to do is go to my website. It's right there.
Yes, and Steve's website is www.stevenspandex. Fine. Nobody's laughing. Chad Gott says, some have compared the public school system to prison, but most of those are high school students. Very true. my wife is winding down on her day. Tomorrow, another half a day, and it's not prison where she's at. She loves that school. Let's see. I was raised a porch house. I'm not flying to SCON, so your conspiracy is safe with me. Good. I'll go game with him instead of going down to North Texas because I don't want to take a chance. Tell you, man.
Well, wasn't it last year that you were supposedly running from the cops at North?
Yeah, last year I was at North Texas.
Mike and I had to hide you.
So last year there was an email, not sent to me, it was sent that evidently I was at North Texas, which I wasn't, and I was running due to federal warrants for my arrest. And Bad Mike and Eric were hiding me down there.
Like, okay, first question, why would you go to a convention if you're running from the cops? You know, I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
You have to think of the source. Take a deep breath, Steve.
Well, apparently the federal cops only pursue you when you're in Texas, not when you're in Michigan, which would have been much easier for them to check.
I buy him off.
We got to get him when he lit. He's gonna cross the state lines. Yes, we can. Oh wait, Texas. Son of it. In June, no law enforcement wants to go there in June. It's too damn hot. Come on.
That's why he was running.
Steven is bringing back the Jack LaLanne speed suit. Oh man, Mr. Gunn, how old are you? Are you old enough to even remember those shows?
I remember those shows.
Damn.
And what are you, 30? No, don't give me that shit, man.
Jeez.
You're not allowed, Tom. You're not allowed.
Okay.
So sorry, sir. So sorry.
So,
but
I guess what we'll do is real quick. We're gonna go ahead and give a gangbusters update here. Mr. Hunt's in the chat. We actually, and I found out that this. I want to laugh when I'm saying this. So I go to print gangbusters the other night, and I'm literally got a beautiful looking PDF, and when it goes to print, it literally explodes. And I'm talking about it goes all over the place. So I'm thinking, okay, I got a new computer in the office, so maybe it's the new update or something. So I dig out my old computer, hook it all up, convert to PDF, do all that. It does the same damn thing. Get on Adobe Tech Support. Sorry, Mark, I got to say this about you, my friend. The problem is when you have older Microsoft Word, like really old Microsoft Word. Yeah, Steve probably knows this one. And then you convert it to Google Docs as a Word document. And then you submit that. What ended up happening is every single letter F was a various symbol. And it literally took the text and all the formatting that was done in InDesign and went, I mean, it literally looked like it went like all over. So we were delayed a couple of days, but I'm going to tell you something about Mark Hunt. And I'm not just saying this because he's watching. This guy is a rabid tiger on this. He is literally up getting this thing formatted into straight line PDF because we did a test. If he converts it to PDF, then I can bring it in and I can then do my editing in Adobe Acrobat Pro. So what he's doing is he's doing straight line text for me, properly formatted. Then I'm going to take it into Adobe Acrobat Pro and I'm going to insert all the imagery, make sure the leading margins and the gutters are correct, get it set for printing, get the lower footers and headers in, and all that. We can get her printed. So we were delayed 2 or 3 days, but that man, to Mark Hunt's credit, is like last night. This guy works till 7:30 at night. Is literally telling me, "Well, I can stay up all night and get it done." No, you're not doing that. You're going to go to bed, get some sleep. You got to go to work tomorrow morning. But he was willing to do that. And then today he got off early from work, and he's been pumping at this all day. So that guy's willing to put the work in to get a project done, on time. So people should give this guy hats off. Dead serious. I mean,
I can give 2 thumbs up.
Absolutely. Death Angel Shadow says, I'm debating between Affinity Publisher and Scribus. Scribus is free, which is a plus. Affinity is paid, but once and done, also a plus. Okay. Death Angel Shadow, it depends on what you're doing. If you're going to do just once in a great while a project, go with Scribus. It's free. But if you're going to do this for any type of professional, going to sell it, I would get away from Affinity Publisher. It really is not a good program to do commercial level printing, and there's some known issues with Affinity Publisher. If you're going to send that out to someone like Ingram or something like that to get it printed or done, stay away from it. My suggestion is go to InDesign or CorelDRAW. They're both excellent. They both do beautiful PDF conversions, and that's just from somebody who prints and does layout for a living. Trust me on it. And you don't have to spend a ton of money on InDesign. You can get it for like $20 a month. In fact, what it does, you get like InDesign and a couple other programs with it. You can actually, pay per month on it now. So that's my suggestion.
Or you can be married to a teacher who has
Get it super cheap.
Nope, won't work. I'm going to tell you the reason why. The new Adobe Teacher Editions have a commercial block on them. If you try to upload it to Ingram for printing, there's an encoding in it that'll say this is a teacher edition, and they have to enter, they'll ask you, why is there a publisher name? What school district is it for? And that type of stuff. They're encoded now. Adobe's gotten smart.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the metadata that the computers pick up on. That's why when people go, if you notice, all of your printed books now have a barcode in the back. That's an ANSIS number. Our printers have them. What they do is it's a barcode that we track, because what it does is it shows you that it was printed in Battle Creek, Michigan. And then when you further look into it, you can research and find out the publisher who published it. That's why all Ingram books have it, Amazon book have it, Barnes and Noble books have it, print on demand, all those. So Mr. Gunn says, the Elk of Antioch, so you're saying you have no provincial or territorial crime, just local and federal. Mr. Gunn says, Don, in a newer copy of MS Word, it would work, but you know what? If we can figure it out without Mark having to put out a bunch of money, we got it figured out. We're rock and rolling on it. Death Angel, go with CorelDRAW if you're going to do just a quarterly newsletter, or go with InDesign. Either one works great. I actually prefer CorelDRAW to InDesign. I can walk around pretty much tons of people who use InDesign using Corel. Chad DeCoste says, Mark, we salute you. Mark says, I'm all in for gangbusters. Yes, he is. And then the veteran says, describe us work with drive-through RPG print on demand. They utilize, who do they utilize? Is it Ingram? No, they Lightning Source, which is a division of Ingram. Mm-hmm. So that's a 50-50 chance.
You're right. So when I put together Swords and Wizardry Continual Light, the printed version, oh God, how many years ago was it now? 7 years ago? And I didn't use anything that we're talking about. I used some online layout program that was like $5 a month and whatever. Drive-through shat the bed. It couldn't figure it out for printing. Yep. PDF, fine. Amazon was like, hey, you have 4 problems. Let me fix your 4 problems. And they fixed it, and it printed fine. Yep. So, because what a lot of people don't understand is that, when you open up these computer programs, you have to set them up for either, you have to set them up for what's called CMYK printing. Because what people don't realize is that even if you're only printing in black and white, digital presses, we have our presses are 12 color. We have 4 shades of black and gray.
Dang.
Literally four cartridges of black and gray. And a lot of times, if those cartridges are running low, they mix all colors together to create black. So you have to have it set for CMYK. And people go, I'm doing RGB, I'm going to do black and white. you can do that also. But a lot of these programs are set for for positive gray. So a lot of these programs are set for computer monitors, which is RGB, excuse me. So, you just gotta really be careful with it. Can't afford Adobe. You know what, Death Angels, do me a favor. Look me up on Facebook. It's Don Samora, and drop me a PM. And what I'll do is after the show, I'll throw you a couple links to a couple of places that you can probably pick something up free that might work. So I don't mind helping you out. Yeah. Let's see, Mr. Gunn. We only have one criminal code passed in Ottawa that can involve putting people in jail. States, provinces, towns can pass regulation that involve fines. Don't come to America. Murder, same cross country. Oh no, in the United States, every state is different. Every state is different with murder.
Yeah. If you really want to get confused, throw Louisiana into it, because Louisiana.
Okay, now Death Angel Shadow makes an LOL to this comment. Death Angel, I'm not joking when I say this. I do this professionally. I do 99% of my layouts in Corel Draw. Corel is not what you think it used to be. Especially the new 2025 version of Corel, I can walk around a lot of people who utilize Photoshop and Illustrator using that program. It is just a beautiful program for layout. And in fact, they got layout functions in it that even InDesign does not have. So, just plain murder.
I may have to reboot. My chat just crashed.
Your chat crashed?
So, yeah, my chat just crashed. The whole thing
you're messing with Siri before we start the show, and look what ends up happening.
Yeah. Steve, take the top spot. I'll be back in like 2 minutes. Just, keep it going.
Be nice to her.
Don't let anybody get into trouble.
Don't piss her off, okay?
That series related to the Terminator, so yeah, definitely don't tick her off.
Okay, Death Angel Shadow says Word simply cannot do desktop publishing regardless of. Okay, Death Angel Shadow, Word 2025 can do desktop publishing. It can do it very simply. The problem is you have to know how to lay it out. You have to know how to format it properly, and you have to understand that it's not image friendly. It's good. I know. Like I think Mark Hunt laid out one of his manuals using Word. And I'll tell you what, he showed it to me at my convention. He literally said, "Here's this book. I did this using Word." And I was like, "Oh, come on, no way." I'm flipping through the book, like, no way. So if you know what you're doing, yeah.
I got one for you. In the late 90s, I worked in the activities department at a nursing home, and they asked me to do the monthly newsletter. And I did it. I did the monthly newsletter in PowerPoint, printed it from PowerPoint, stapled it. We passed it out to all the residents. I did my editing in Word, and then just copied and pasted in the PowerPoint. It was a Frankenstein monster. I did that for about 11 months.
Yep. And Mark Hunt says last time you used Corel Draw was version 108. Yeah, that was no better than Microsoft Paint back then. But I think I'm going to do it on Wizard Tower Games. I think I'm going to do a video of me laying out a few pages of an RPG using Corel Draw. It'll blow people's mind. People won't believe it's Corel Draw. Okay, it goes, yes, so in Canada, someone was charged with federal crimes. It just means they don't know criminal law very well. Yeah, no, in the states, every state, in fact, every state has its own laws that have to do with murder, robbery, whatever. Yep. There's states that have death penalties in the United States. Michigan's not a death penalty state.
Well, yeah, that's one of the ironies is that in certain states there's no death penalty, so sometimes the DA will allow the federal prosecutor to charge the crime because the crime's so heinous that they can.
It's a federal statute.
It has to fall under federal jurisdiction, which means
yes,
it has to be a crime that crossed state lines, or it has to be against federal officials or law enforcement officials,
or be a federal hate crime
as federal for that case. But yeah, it's iffy.
And Death Angel says, I've worked on plotter size ink printers that had 12, 16 color cartridges in them. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got them. They're crazy. They are crazy to use. Fugly says, can't someone just send you a PDF and you just hit this? I'm gonna take it. You just hit the CMYK button. You can take a PDF and you can convert it in Adobe Acrobat Pro from RGB to CMYK. The problem is, if you're not using CMYK to begin with, you could have color variations when it prints. It may look good on your monitor, but when it prints, it could really throw the colors off. Yeah. And so I'm gonna do a video because I gotta show people how to do it like that. I'll do a side-by-side monitor show. One side InDesign, one side Corel. Okay, Antioch, well, the dumbass ones get caught. The smart ones are politicians, bankers, and captains of industry.
Well, the real criminals are politicians.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, going back to the printer thing, you were saying your printer has 12 colors. I've got a LaserJet that's CMYK by default, and I'll tell you this much: after having an inkjet for years, I will not go back to an inkjet. LaserJet is so nice. I mean, it is such a step up, and it's not that much more than an inkjet anymore.
I'm sorry. I am just a big fan of Epson EcoTank now.
Yep.
Rob Conley from Batnatic Games turned me on to a Epson it's a C8550 large format. It is a 6-color EcoTank printer, and I'll tell you what, you get mileage out of those. I mean, a lot.
I'm still on my original cartridge 4 years later. So,
yeah. Microsoft Paint, yeah, the greatest graphics program of all time. No, the oldest graphics program of all time. Wait a minute, is Microsoft Paint older than the Apple Draw?
No clue.
I know somebody's still using Microsoft Paint.
Wow.
Damn.
Oh. Yep.
Not me. No, not me.
No. I was about to say, I wasn't going to say anything. Trust me. I was going to be nice.
Wait. This. That guy?
No. This is a fan of something I'm a fan of who supplied me with art for a magazine.
No, I use Photoshop. Old Photoshop, but still Photoshop.
I'm a cheap bastard. I use GIMP.
GIMP's a good program too. You just take a bit of tweaking to get it to work right.
Yeah, GIMP is a little bit of a pain in the ass. GIMP is good for like smaller layouts, but you get anything about 60, 70 pages, GIMP starts to act really weird. I'll tell you what, maybe I should start doing some tutorial videos. Do you think those would be interesting?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, okay. Because what happens is that you'll see a tutorial video, you won't really watch it, but then like 3 months later you'll be like, all right, what was that video? You go look it up, and then you'll walk through it step by step because it's crucial to what you're doing. Anytime I use InDesign, I'm pulling up a tutorial video because this guy just walks you through these procedures, and it saves me from banging my head against the keyboard.
Yeah, Mark, I agree with you. Look up the 8550. Trust me, be the best $700 you ever spent in your life. I'll tell you what, the 8550. Rob Conley, Batnatic Games, that man turned me on to that in one of Eric Tenkar's videos. You can do 11 by 17 full bleed, 12 by 18, no problem.
By the way, talking about Rob, his Kickstarter launched last night at 10 p.m. Majestic Fantasy Realms, the Northern Marches. 300 backers already, 16,000 raised. It's good stuff. Back it.
I need to back it. What was his goal? I know he met his goal.
His goal was like 2,000. He hit it in like the first 20, 25 minutes.
Good. Yeah, couldn't happen to a better guy. He's a really good guy.
Yeah, he's a really sweet guy.
I love to use paint.net. I mean, if it works for you, it works for you. But remember one thing, I just tell people this all the time, and I'm not trying to sound like a jerk, is you get what you pay for when it comes to graphic design. If you're doing something small and minor, you know, it works, awesome. But if you're doing anything on a commercial level, you really need to, I mean, I know it sucks. Oh, I don't want to spend that. Nobody wants to spend that, but you just got to.
Right.
Because the last thing you need to do is send it out. You got a bunch of people wanting to buy it, and all of a sudden your printer starts going, oh, there's a problem with this and a problem with that, yada, 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 yada. It's like, shit. Much easier than GIMP. Okay, I will start doing some how-to videos and tutorial videos on graphic design using different programs. No problem.
Yeah, do the thing, man.
I will. All right, should we get right into the meat and taters, boys?
You got meat and taters? Got great.
Everybody got their underwear on for this one?
Let me get some biscuits.
All right. A little bit of background real quick on this, and then we'll go have a little fun, and maybe we'll piss a few people off in the process. Do you like Jim Ward? So do we. Even though, yeah, I guess I don't. I do, but I don't because I was, let's get into it. For those of you who don't know, the manual.
You call a hater?
I was told basically like a child to drop it.
Drop it because you may expose an exposure.
Oh, wait. You were expecting maturity out of people on the internet?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
You know, they expected this absurdity if they thought I was going to drop it after talking to me like a child in front of several thousand people. So basically, for those who don't know, the manual Deities and Demigods from many, many years ago, early 80s, had, when they first came out with it, they had the Cthulhu mythos in it and a few others.
Well, one other, the two that were important to us as kids, as teens, was the Cthulhu mythos and the Milner Bone mythos. I had photocopies of those sections from a friend who had a copy. And it was a couple of years ago at North Texas, I finally got myself a copy.
Yes. And yes, Death Angels, he did sadly pass away last year. He finally succumbed to diabetes and all the issues, his heart issues and all that.
Yeah, he had a lot of complications.
So basically what happened was TSR Hobbies, not new TSR, the real TSR Hobbies.
The real TSR.
Okay. They put this manual out, and legend, and I'm going to use terms like legend and history. Legend and history goes that they put the manuals out, these two mythos in it, and before the manual was designed, Jim Ward, and we're going to show the letter here in a moment, according to what he claimed, is he wrote the owners of this, the mythos, and got written permission and handed the letters of permission to TSR attorneys. So the books are released, and they get a C&D from the owners of these IPs.
Was it from the owner of the IP or was it from the licensee?
I think it was licensee.
The licensee.
Yep.
Which was Chaosium, for those that don't know.
Yes. Yeah, Chaosium. So what TSR Hobbies did is TSR Hobbies stopped production, took the mythos out, and reprinted it without it. That's why some Deities and Demigods you'll see go for $150, $200 a manual, but you'll see another one go for $40 and go, what's the difference? Well,
from what I gather, it wasn't just a one and done. There are at least 3 different versions. There is Mythos, no thanks to Chaosium. There is Mythos, and thank you to Chaosium.
Yes.
Then it's 4 different versions. Sorry. Then there's no Mythos, no Meltabone, but a thank you to Chaosium. And then last but not least, there's the no thank you, no nothing. It never happened.
That's right. And that's the version you're going to find on eBay and on sale on Facebook. Usually it goes for about $40, $50 a manual. And sometimes you'll hear them referred to by the page count. Like this is the X page count version versus the, like, was it 128 and 144?
I think the original was 144 and that went down to 128 with the 2 sections missing.
Yeah. So you'll hear people go, this is the 144 version. Okay, great. Oh, wow, I want that type of thing. So this is what ended up happening. A guy by the name of Mark Clover, and I'm going to use his name in this because he posted in not only an EggCons page, but he posted this everywhere. I mean, AD&D groups everywhere. He plastered it. And this is what he posted. He said, Jimmy used to post this annually to remind people not to trust the various misunderstandings, etc., etc. Now, to be clear on something, Jim Ward used to post this letter, okay, and as a clarification of exactly what happened. And he did this because he frankly got sick and tired of people misunderstanding the history of it, like he did something wrong. Now, there's a lot of this that doesn't make sense to me, because he says in here that they got a cease and desist letter from Chaosium. And he says, however, they didn't know about the 2 letters. He mentions before he got the letters from Lovecraft, or Gary noticed that maybe the Lovecraft and other sections might be a problem. He gave the Arkham House and Michael Moorcock addresses, and I immediately wrote them explaining what I was doing and asking for the permission to include their material. Wonder of wonders, I got 2 letters back giving me permission to use their work. He says, I foolishly gave those 2 letters to lawyers at TSR. They might still be in some lost file at Wizards. And then he says they got a C&D. This is where I think that this is a little bit derailed of history, and I think Jim is just not remembering things right. Because he goes on to say, and this is the part that doesn't make sense to me. He says, anyway, we printed up the book and sold it, and got a cease and desist letter from Chaosium. And he goes, he says, I don't blame them a bit. However, they didn't know about the 2 letters. TSR would have won a court case hands down. However, the company wasn't rich at that point, and Brian Bloom didn't want to go to California and get a California lawyer and spend time and money winning the case. Okay, we get that. Well, then I posted this. I says, at the end of the day, they got a C&D, and by complying, they tacitly agreed they infringed, which is true.
Yep.
All it would have taken is having TSR attorneys send them letters of permission, and it would have ended there. And I said, I don't think Jim did anything wrong. He did his due diligence. However, the company itself, TSR, agreed they were by complying. The situation lost in time what it is. Well, this is offended Pout. He says, Don Samora, was important to my friend Jim that folks were made and kept aware of this. So I'll continue to share from time to time. It being a loss of time. Now, I respect that. Okay, but there's a point to be made here. There is no reason for this to have went to court. If I'm using Eric and Tom's IP, and Eric and Tom send me a cease and desist letter, all I have to do, or another company sends me a C&D because I'm using their IP, all I have to do to counter that C&D is get on the phone, pick up the phone to my attorney. Corporations like mine, you and I have one on retainer, and what you do is just say, "Hey, can you get a hold of Eric and Tom? They sent me a C&D. I got a C&D. Can you get these letters over to this, sender X?" TSR attorneys would have gave a copy of the letters to that company, and it would have been done. There would have been no court battle, because when you get a cease and desist letter, that cease and desist letter is basically saying that you're violating my IP or my property in some way. But if I have permission to utilize it, then it doesn't matter what you think. I have permission.
Well, here's my question. Okay, because in producing a fan magazine over the years and working with artists, it's a fan magazine. We can't make any profit, so we got to beg for art. And I have artists who are like, yeah, you can use my stuff, but I always double check and make sure. And, there have been times where I've asked for a specific piece of art. Hey, is it okay to use this? It's like, no, that was a commission. You can't use it. So if it's been licensed to a third party, that third party, Chaosium, might think it's theirs. And,
and here's the thing. Chaosium, according to an article that I found and I showed to Don earlier, Chaosium was licensed the mythos for a role-playing game, but TSR was given a license for a reference manual.
Yes.
But the thing is, Chaosium got theirs first, and whoever it was in control of the mythos at Arkham was just kind of like with Moorcock. Moorcock was asked and said, "Sure, do it," not realizing that his what's the name I'm looking for? Not attorney, his rep already licensed the material to another company. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't that Jim did anything wrong, but the reality is this was actually sorted out, and let's say Watson, TSR used the material because it wasn't like the companies wanted to have a bad feeling. But my gut feeling is that TSR didn't like the look of them supporting some other company's material.
Possibly. Yeah. But Jason Jacobson has a couple of comments here. He says, Mark Glover's a wonderful guy. He's a torchbearer who helps keep the hobby alive. Okay, Jason, I'm going to tell you like this with me. I'm not in any way saying that Jason's a bad guy. That Mark is a bad guy. What I'm saying is Mark posted this. Okay, and then real quick, Jason goes back and says, honestly, I'm not a fan of second guessing and debating guys who've passed. You've had years to ask Ward directly about this. Actually, people have asked Jim Ward directly about this. And Jim Ward used to get really amped up, really upset, and out of respect, people backed off. And the thing is that if maybe what needs to be questioned is that, you're calling Mark Glover a torchbearer that helps keep the root of the hobby alive, and nobody's allowed to ask. I mean, is my question offensive towards Jim Ward at all?
Yeah.
All I said, if I even clarified, I don't think Jim did anything wrong. And the thing is, so we go on. I said, I'm not disputing you posting this. I simply offered my opinions. It was just a simple C&D that have been simple to deal with. If the TSR lawyers had permissions, and by the way, Jason, I'm not trying to offend you, but this is factually true. If you know anything about how IP law works, then I said it would be simple to deal with. The TSR lawyers, if they had the permissions, I will add, you have mentioned other places that the reason possibly this was done, I am paraphrasing, I'm trying to be nice to them, is possibly TSR did not want to invest in the cost of attorneys to do such. The problem is TSR attorneys, I imagine, would have been on retainer. My companies have retainers on legal counsel. They do. I can call my lawyer and talk to her, and guess what? It doesn't cost me a freaking dime because she gets paid monthly. Okay? TSR would have had a hell of a lot bigger attorneys than I have. And all it would have done, it would have taken a simple phone call to the attorneys. The attorneys would have forwarded the paperwork. Okay? And guess what? The matter would have been done. And I clarified. I think, however, as with everything related to the sands of time, things can get a bit out of focus and skewed. Post a letter, admiral to do. And I think it's an interesting link to some history of TSR. So what he was, because he was a butthurt that someone was not kissing his ass. Sorry, I'm going to be blunt here. Okay? Someone was not bow-toweling because Jim Ward's name was mentioned. He said, your speculation on various aspects of that situation notwithstanding, I'll continue to post firsthand account from Jim periodically to keep folks informed. You claim now to be paraphrasing me. You're mistaken. Let it go. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Excuse me to clarify so bluntly here. I'm not fucking 5. I'm not being told by anybody to let it go. I was just trying to be nice and offer an opinion. That's what you do. You see, when you pop off in a public forum like Facebook, and it's public, people offer opinions. And sometimes people don't fully agree with you. And let me do this here. I am going to post the link. Is this the link to
the article that I found? It's very good. Okay. It's very comprehensive. And
that is the link.
As Don is saying, if you post something, you're going to get conversation. When I was a frequent blogger, Mark would come on and we would have conversations where we would often disagree. Sometimes it was because of perspective. Sometimes it was because of history. Sometimes it's just a matter of personality. That's fine. But if you're going to post this and share this, and then somebody goes, you know what? Maybe in Don's point of view, because listen, hate to say it, the people on the screen probably have more experience with lawyers than most lawyers do.
Two.
Yeah. You know, we learn to ask questions and say, you know what? There's something missing from this that, hey, most people aren't going to notice, but those of us that maybe have been involved in certain things, it tends to stick out. Asking questions is what it's about, right? Yeah. When somebody asks questions and you tell them to go pound sand, and I'm not saying that Mark said it quite that way, but I would have taken it that way. You don't tend to respond in the, all right, man, peace with you. Have a good one. No, you're like, well, go fuck yourself. I wasn't part of the conversation. Now, as for asking Jim Ward, all right, Jim Ward stopped going to conventions a long time ago, and when he did go to conventions, the last few years I saw him at conventions, I wanted that man to be in peace because he was not in good health, and he certainly wasn't going to be looking to have some, I don't know, fanboy. So what's the deal with Deities and Demigods? Oh, and by the way, what about Oriental Adventures and all the questions about that? You're not going to ask the guy that stuff when he's in that situation.
Because there's a respect level because of his age and health.
But on top of that, Don wasn't going to conventions back then. Most people don't. I'm one of the few that's been going for the last decade. And that's only because I got to work with Frog God and we got to get hotel rooms covered. It's an expensive hobby to go to gaming conventions, and that's where you get to meet these people. So I'm going to make one last comment. It's not even about that. If you enjoy this hobby and you have a convention in your area where you can go out and meet these people. Heck, Sandy Peterson's going to be at fucking VengerCon, okay? Going to be a small con. If you want to ask that man questions about this, since he was a Chaosium, go talk to Sandy at VengerCon this summer. Go to EggCon. Go to Central New York Con. Go to places where you're going to meet it. But it's an expensive hobby when you start doing that. And not everybody. If you live up in Lake Geneva, you're blessed, right? You're at Mecca. You have to realize that most of us aren't at Mecca, and even to get to Mecca is still, after flying, is still like 2 hours by car. So, Yeah,
and I want to clarify, Jason, I'm not saying, I'm not mad at you at all. What I'm doing is I'm just saying that I think that my responses to Mark's posts were actually quite nice. I was trying to clarify because I did not want to insinuate that I was blaming Jim Ward for doing wrong. I'll put it this way. I believe, honestly, that Jim Ward's letter is how Jim Ward remembers it.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm also going to say something about Jim Ward that is a fact. Jim Ward was ravaged physically by diabetes and a lot of health issues. And when you have health issues at that level and you are getting older on top of it, how you remember things might be different, if you will. And it's very well possible that he did do his due diligence, and there's somewhere in the vaults of the TSR attorneys a letter. And, Tom says something real quick. Someone did mono about the accordance. Yeah, exactly.
I just want to point out, since we're bringing up diabetes, there's a thing called diabetes-induced dementia, and that is a real possibility. Well, I don't know Jim Ward's medical record. I have no idea, but it's a possibility.
My mom had it.
Yeah. I knew Steve's mom well, and Steve's mom had that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but Jason says Clover also reminds us when it's Gary or Dave's Deity's birthday. He runs games all. Jason, I'll tell you what. I don't know Mark. I'll say it for the record. I've never met Mark personally, and I was not trying to be offensive to Mark here. But what Mark has to understand is no matter how much of an advocate he is for D&D, and I respect the fact he's an advocate for it, so everyone here in this chat or in this video, but he has to understand that when you make posts like this, part of it is you're going to get people offering their opinion. You're going to get people offering a counterpoint. And as long as they're not being jerks about it, then maybe just take it as, wow, maybe I'm glad somebody's engaged in my post like this, instead of just being, yes, sir, you're right, sir, yes, sir, because that's not how I am. You know, like I said, I respect the fact that he runs games all the time. He might be a huge advocate. Like I said, I don't know him.
Yeah.
Okay.
But when I went to seminary, I was notorious for asking questions. And one of the things that I quickly learned was that if you ask the wrong, you keep asking, no, this doesn't make any sense. And you keep asking questions because you want to understand and you want to be right. I don't want to teach something wrong. I want to teach something that's right. And when you keep pushing somebody and they're just giving you the pat answers and you keep pushing them, they suddenly go on the attack. And one of the things that I encountered was, what are you, a Pentecostal? No, I'm not a Pentecostal, and you can't answer the question. So I don't have to accept anything you said.
Exactly. That's going to be an vote now for you. Tom, you're a Pentecostal.
Listen, I love my Pentecostal brethren. Love them.
I'm not Pentecostal. He is. I'm going to get that shirt made up for you.
Yeah, let's give a shirt.
Yeah,
in all fairness, and you know, I've had a relationship with Eric and Tom for a couple of years now. 3 years, I think it's been now, guys.
Yeah, at least.
You know, our relationships did not start off as us being best buds.
Oh, fuck no.
Yeah. You know, and the thing is, but what made us become friends is the fact that we listened to each other with an open mind. And like me and Steve down below, me and Steve's been friends, Steve now, 17 years?
Something like that.
Yes. And the thing is me and Steve argue the hell out of each other almost every day.
Oh, do you remember the story I was telling about you and me? We were in that back office when you moved everything, or when you moved yourself back there. We're yelling and screaming and everything, and the girls are like, "Oh man, they're going to kill each other." And then we come out 20 minutes later, like, "Hey, you want to go have a burger?" And they're just like, "What the frick? I thought you two were going to kill each other."
Yeah. I had 9 women working for me. They're all at the back door of the back warehouse, looking at me and Steve going at it, thinking we're getting a fist fight. We're just having a debate.
Yeah, just having a conversation.
And Jason, respect you also, by the way.
Right.
I appreciate you bringing up these points.
Don and I, if things had gone as planned, not how we planned, somebody else had planned, oh my God, we wouldn't have. If Don's grave was on fire, I wouldn't have bothered pissing on it. I would have walked away.
That's right.
All right. That was the game plan, but we didn't get to that point because both of us were like, "This is a little suspicious how we're getting together, and how we've been drawn together. Let's ask some questions, go beyond the surface, and that's what a lot of this stuff is about, right? It's going beyond the surface, as Tom was saying." Going beyond the pat routine answers and digging a little bit deeper. Like, if I offend anybody, remember, I supervised detectives for the last 12 years of my career as an NYPD officer and sergeant. So I am going to piss people off because I am going to be asking questions. It's what I did. So I wasn't asking them of witnesses or victims. I was asking it of my people. Did you do this? Did you do that? What did you find out? I need you to. It's how we're wired. So,
and me, Eric, and Tom to this day in our three-way chat on Facebook, we have debates. We disagree. But the thing is if I disagree with Tom, or Tom disagrees with me, or vice versa with Eric or Tom, we're not getting off here going, oh, fuck them, and we go away pouting. No. We're all adults here. Adults don't agree all the time, but as long as you're adult about it.
In my family, my parents, one of them was a Republican, one was a Democrat.
Oh, that made an interesting Thanksgiving.
And I love it. And the older I get, the more I find that people have this image of a box, for their religion. And everything inside their box is true and is God, and everything outside is heresy. And the older I get, the more I find out, God just says, you know what, I'm not in the box that you designed. And the older and things are not cut and dried. They're not black and white. and not everybody is completely evil, although there's a few people who aspire to be. But, not everything is cut and dried and black and white, and that you gotta. Yeah. The older I get, the more I see you got to have a little more grace and a little more mercy, and Dawn. It's been nothing but pleasure being a friend with you. When I first called you, I was trying to get information on Justin Lanassa, and I just kind of realized you were an all right guy who was I thought was duped, and so I stopped trying to bait you and trick you.
I remember that.
I ended the phone call. I just says, you know what? I'm not going to do this because he's an all right guy. He's not a Kool-Aid drinker. He's not one of the Kool-Aid drinkers. He's not a bad guy. He's just duped. He's got a business relationship, and I get it. But the older I get, the more I find you're on the side of grace and mercy.
Well,
you're better off.
What I find very amusing is that Don and I came together because anonymous email. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You would think it didn't work 3 years ago. Maybe you'd find a different horse. It's like, but no.
I really wasn't sure I wanted to do the vlogging thing. Mm-hmm. And so I happened to report that a certain TSR 3.0 was producing this Star Frontiers New Genesis, and that they had revealed through their public posts that they were doing a D20 game. It was very obvious, the character sheet. And so I reported that. And then I got trolled.
Well, real quick, for those who don't know, Star Frontiers is a D100 system.
Yes.
The original.
Yeah.
The original. The bastardization that was being schlepped was it was obviously going to be, so that was news to the Star Frontiers community. So I reported it, and they came on my Facebook page. They attacked my daughter with special needs. It was like 3 of the Kool-Aid drinkers and the head honcho, and then alts. There were alts. Pig pile. And somebody saw my Facebook page, and I'm driving home from Massachusetts, and so they texted me, "Hey, dude, you're being attacked online." So we pull into a rest stop. I start reading, and I'm like, "Babe, you got to drive so I can try to answer some of this." But when that happened, I says, "I'm being trolled because I reported truth." And that's when I started reaching out to Eric. Eric mentored me a little bit on this whole online vlogging things. I started reaching out to Dawn, and I says, all right, game on. You're going to attack my daughter with special needs. You're going to attack me. You're going to attack.
What the funny part is, you mentioned an interesting thing about this. I know we're kind of going over old history here, but usually you can tell people by their patterns. People tend to operate in patterns, and they're pretty steady. And a certain individual who ran a game company, who no longer owns a game company, that was his style of MO. I mean, my daughter, who's deceased, I remember us getting autopsy photos of, not of her, but they sent me autopsy photos and said, "This is your daughter." My daughter never had an autopsy. But that's the viciousness level. And Tom has a daughter who's special needs. They went after her. They went after Eric's wife, Tom's wife, my wife. I mean, it was just unending.
I was sent pictures of Chunk from Goonies. I don't know if you guys remember Chunk from Goonies.
Yeah.
And claiming that was my daughter, and I was like,
the thing is, think about that. What kind of human being does that? Because no matter how much, worse than insecure in my idea. Because you want to go after me, fine. I'm a big boy. I'm 57 years old. I can handle myself. Leave my freaking wife and kids out of it.
Well, even vicious criminals kind of leave families alone. The mob. We don't go after the wife. We don't go after the mother, the father, the family. It's just kind of, look. You don't like what I said? You can challenge me on it. Yeah. It's the court of public opinion. It's the marketplace of ideas. Say what you got to say.
And hey, Injun Joe, it's not the fact that the kids were on the internet. They weren't. What was going on was there was an individual who was angry, and this adult male was basically going after us. And when he was not getting the rise he wanted out of us, he was going after our wives and our kids. And he was not going after them in a nice way.
Yeah.
No.
And, you know, exactly. I mean, the level of viciousness, I think, would shock a lot of people.
Yeah.
And you can, by the way, Injun Joe, if you want to kind of see a sample of it, go to Facebook and go search for Star Frontiers
New Genesis Un.
New Genesis. Yes.
Star Frontiers New Genesis Un. We were the Un group. Yes.
Look for that group, join it, and look at the photos, because the screenshots are and everything. And I'll tell you what,
scroll way back.
But still, it's there. And
going
it'll
back
blow your mind.
2021, 2020, 2022.
Yep. And honestly, you know, the worst of the worst was probably never even shared.
It wasn't.
Yeah, there's stuff we never showed.
Yeah. But hey, by the way,
it's 903.
Who's still making videos?
That's right.
Who's still got communities?
Yep.
I mean, I'm making intro to writing videos.
Yeah, so I mean, we're
he could probably benefit.
Oh yeah, he probably could benefit because English is certainly a second language, allegedly. But yeah, no, I do got to drop over to the Discord.
Yes, Eric has his hangout.
Yeah, Discord hangout. All right, Eric, we'll see you.
All right, Eric. All right, talk to you soon.
Yeah.
So basically, I guess the thing is this, and this is a lesson that I can tell people: be very careful who you do business with, because, it's good to look. It's good to get to know the person more deeper if you're going to get into a business relationship with them. There's bad people everywhere, and there's good people everywhere. And it's very easy to become jaded. Very, very easy. Injun Joe says, I'm above that kind of cheap garbage. I refuse to give a platform to trolls aren't green and on game board. You know what? But the problem that Injun Joe, let's put it this way. It's a long story. Maybe one day we'll do a history.
Well, let me just say this. Okay, Don. Don's wife received Don's wife's business, which is a public school, received like documents, fake Photoshop documents, and
the level of viciousness was just beyond the pale.
Yeah, and all it was an attempt, because Don was a subpoenaed witness in a federal lawsuit. And even though there was an order in place from the judge saying to this certain individual, you're not to harass Don, he's a subpoenaed witness. And, this guy was just vicious. I mean, stuff was sent to Dawn, stuff was sent to Dawn's wife, stuff was sent to Dawn's wife's work. It
was sent to everybody, though. It was sent to you. It was sent. They just targeted everybody.
Well, he's had a hard time targeting me because he doesn't really know where my wife works. Even the most recent anonymous email, Tammy and I had a great laugh over.
Yeah, don't give away too much.
He just didn't understand. He just doesn't know, and so he thinks he knows. And
let me do this. My virtual background. I'm going to turn that off there.
Okay.
I keep going out of focus. My virtual background keeps out of focus on me. So, well, the bottom line is this: Injun Joe said, Fugly says something. Actually, he says trolls reveal more about themselves and their actions than any truth about others. That is very true. And he says new TSR thing is an ass sign. The guy clear us and mystery. You know what the problem is? It's just like I mentioned about who you get in business with. But the thing is, it just wasn't him. He surrounded himself with individuals that were like-minded thinkers and doers. I mean, he had a Holocaust or Confederate-loving Holocaust denier. He had an avowed Nazi. And when I say avowed Nazi, I mean, this guy had a Twitter channel that would have shocked you.
Yeah.
And so
my favorite post from that is, quote unquote, in your heart that Hitler was right.
Yes, that's the kind of stuff this guy posted. And so the thing is I think at the end of the day, a good lesson was learned. I think the gaming community learned a good lesson, and I think that in the end it created a lot of positive friendships.
Yeah. So,
but
it brought people together. Yeah. And he's still desperately trying to separate us.
Yeah. And Death Angel says, "Bah, his invite is expired. Invite is expired." Amen, brother. I agree with you. So, gentlemen, it is after 9 o'clock. We will be back next week. Gangbusters, the game, will be probably out sometime mid to late next week for you Gangbusters fans out there. Injun Joe says Ernie got smeared because of those nut goofs. Well, it is what it is. Ernie is Ernie. Ernie was Ernie. I think at the end, it's a shame Ernie passed when he did, because I think Ernie finally found his stride doing the games at Dragonlands and doing all that. He made a lot of happy people towards the end of his life. Yeah. So, I was talking about Tenkar's Discord invite. Yeah, for those of you who are interested, Eric Tenkar has a thing called what does he call it?
Tenkar's Tavern.
Tenkar's Tavern, but he has a thing called the Speakeasy. Speakeasy. And what you can do is you can go in there with your video camera and just sit and talk and shoot the shit for a couple hours if you want. It's actually pretty cool. I go in there once in a while. A lot of dead people between Hurricane Sound and Mount Hiller. Amen. Yep. Thank you, Chad. Much appreciated. And then DSP trying to get to Eric's Discord. Fugly DS, are you talking about me? I know what Eric's Discord is. I'm in it. So, or is it Death Angel Shadow? I think he's talking about. Never mind. So, all right, guys. Well, like I said, we'll be back next week. We got Gangbusters, the RPG, and the course setting. So those orders will be headed out this coming week. Me and my wife are driving down to North Texas RPG Con. We're going to have to fall into this big trap that's being set up for us, I guess. We're going to go down there. We're just going to meet a bunch of people and just do some networking. And I got to get Glenn Hallstrom and a buddy of his some Gangbusters books. Gangbuster adventure packs are coming out too. Glenn Hallstrom, to his credit, did a monologue for one of them, like an advertising monologue. That is by far so well done. So everybody, try to have a good night. We will be back probably next week. I don't know. I don't think we're going to be in this format because is North Texas coming up next week? Yes, it is. So we will be at North Texas. So it might be probably me and my wife in our hotel room doing the vlog of many things, I guess. I don't know. So we'll get it figured out. There's going to be a couple lives done from North Texas. So we will see what everything's going. Everybody in chat, thank you for tuning in. Tom, Steve, thank you for being here tonight. And everybody, stay safe and keep down those D20s. We're going to be doing a live RPG game, by the way, here soon. We keep talking about it, guys. Got to get this going. So have fun.